Hello and welcome to Fieros, Reborn, the channel and the human. Hello, I am the human and this is the channel. Oh, that was a fart. Hello, welcome to the channel. I have my new Fieros Reborn Ice Flame, Blue Flame on Black thing, prototype t-shirt, because I'm not completely satisfied with this black, the difference between the black of the t-shirt and the black of the thingy bob there. I mean, from a distance you can't really tell, but see, like that, can't really tell, but I can tell, and if you were wearing it you'd be able to tell, and I just don't think it looks quite right. So back to the drawing board a bit on this. Also, this is even still a prototype because I've got this from Vista Print, right? That's an advert there for Vista Print. But I'm very dissatisfied with the fabric. I mean, I don't even know what this fabric is. It feels like it's made of plastic. Like, I've never felt a fabric so synthetic feeling. Like, worse than anything I've ever experienced. It's kind of scratchy and dry in a way. It's not soft, it's hard feeling, and also feels plasticky. It doesn't feel natural, basically, so it's probably not. I haven't checked on the label actually, but yeah, it's really not nice. It feels, try and describe what it feels like. It feels like it's just made of elastic or something. I don't know. It doesn't feel nice. It's not a nice feeling. So although the design, I have proven to myself that yes, this design does work in black and blue. Overall, I think it's marvelous, 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 marvelous. I might get a thing that says Fieros Reborn, like that. We'll see. Overall, but yeah, so that's just a little bit about that. So I would advise not to get any long-sleeved t-shirts from Vista Print unless you happen to like terrible feeling scratchy fabrics, because I'm not going to sell this to anyone else. I'm only wearing it because I'm kind of testing it out for myself. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy with this as a product to sell or to receive. If I received this product, if I was buying Fieros Reborn t-shirt and I got this, I'd be like, fuck this, I'm sending it back. I mean, yeah, okay, the logo's nice, but what the hell is this black thing? The difference between the black and the black, okay, that's not too bad, but what the hell is this fabric like? I don't want to wear this. I don't want to wear this. Yeah. I'm only wearing it because it's a self-promotional tool at the moment. So I'm going to change companies. There is another company that I've got a t-shirt from before. The first ever one I got was from a particular company, and I just need to remember the name. I'm sure I'll remember it. It's like in my history or whatever. But they were slightly more expensive than Vista Print. So I just went with Vista Print for a couple of t-shirts, more to sort of try and like just get the prototyping of, does the logo work? How's it going to fit on the shirt and stuff like this? And so I can get it quickly as well. Vista Print very quick. So they do have some benefits. They're very quick with their send out. They said that it was going to come at like 9th of November for their standard postage and packaging, which it's not the 9th of November now. If you look at the video date upload, it's not the 9th of November. It's the 3rd of November. So that's like 6 days, good mathematics, 6 days before they said it was going to come. And they always do that. They do that on purpose. They make excessive predictions. They always overstate how long it's going to take, and then they undercut that on purpose so that your expectations are exceeded. If you expect it to come miles away in the future and then it comes earlier, then you're always going to be slightly more happy. If that makes sense. So but now I know this, I'm like, why can't they just tell me an accurate figure? But I'm sure it'd be better to just be accurate and to actually stick to it correctly. Who cares? Whatever. So, here we are on Fieros Reborn. Now I've got my introduction out of the way. We are going to talk about Mr.B, possibly. I don't know how much left there is to say about him. Let us get on with Fieros' story time. Okay then. Mr.B was a person who I went out with of the male variety. I met him when I was working at Outback Steakhouse in Staines. I was 19, he was 17 to begin with. We went out for 2 years, I believe. I lived with him. I believe that we went out for 2 years, I believe, comma. I lived with him, comma. It was shitty. Okay, now I'm picking up on a point inside me, which is there is some positive stuff in the relationship with Mr.B, okay? Quite what they were, I'm not sure. Well, I think in a misguided teenage kind of way, I loved him. All right, I mean, it wasn't it wasn't a mature kind of love where I could accept him and allow him to be himself, and that I found him attractive. I mean, I didn't find him attractive. That's the strange thing. Like, why would you stay with someone who you didn't actually find attractive? I mean, I found almost everything about him unattractive. Like, I can see that he's good looking in a way, but I mean, he is good looking from more of a kind of like general what people perceive as good looking, as in he doesn't have kind of facial features that are all over the place. But do I find him good looking? It's weird because part of me actually feels like he was a soulmate in a way. Like, part of me feels that because we were both young, we were very close. So, like, even though we had horrible arguments and we didn't agree on anything, there was still a sense of closeness. There was a sense of intimacy with him. But that's the thing. There was intimacy, and then there was this enmeshment where it was like the intimacy got really. So intimacy is like when you're sharing, right? But then the thing that we didn't have was any centeredness. We were not centered in ourselves. He wasn't centered in his self, although he probably would have claimed he was. But he really just was an obsessive, needy, codependent, whiny, scared person, insecure person, and needing to be in control all the time. And I was a megalomaniac, attention-seeking, delusions of grandeur type of ego maniac, self-absorbed, grandiose person who thought I was the be-all and end-all of everyone's life who I ever came into contact with, which I still feel that way in some small way like that. I still feel like that in some way but I don't tend to tell people that anymore. I kind of, I do feel like I impact on other people's lives, but maybe there's more of a sense of, okay, I'm not revolutionizing every person's life who I've ever come into contact with. You know, I have an influence on people. I have a subtle, helpful influence on people, you know, every now and again, or over time. But it's certainly not to the degree that I would have initially professed it to be. I'd be like, oh, I could change everyone's life. I'm the best thing that ever happened to anyone. I'm going to change the world. I'm the best thing that happened to the world. No, I mean, I think everyone influences everyone else, don't they? And but I have noticed recently that I do tend to have a positive impact on other people overall, and not every person either, though. So obviously some people won't find me particularly positive and they'll get pissed off at me because I'm being a dick. But I think overall, I think it's fair to say that I'm not a bastard anymore. There you go. That's a positive step of progress. I have come to the point in my life where I'm no longer a bastard. Overall, I'm no longer a bastard. Whereas previous to this, I could have said, pretty much a bastard to most people. And then I pretend that I'm great to them. So now it's more a case of, I'm not a bastard overall. Neither do I think I'm God's gift to the universe. I'm sort of more in between. I feel like a kind of normal human being, if that makes any sense to you. Okay. Oh dear. Oh yeah, so Mr.B, I can't remember what that thought train was. It's like, so I'm trying to think of the positive aspects of why we were there. Well, like, why was I with him and stuff. Oh yeah, so I was talking about intimacy and how... I'm going to just put the camera thing down because it's slightly distracting. So, intimacy. So we were we got enmeshed. So, but there was just still a feeling of closeness, and there was a feeling like there was a feeling that deep down something was connected between us. That we were trying to help each other. We were overall both trying to help each other. And support each other. You know, there were supportive parts and there were loving parts to the relationship. But I think it just got all messy, you know, really messy. Because I was really arrogant and he was really needy. I thought I had this kind of genius complex going on at that time. And he had this... what do you do when you enable? He was an enabler, basically. He was enabling my genius complex, and I was feeding off the positive attention he was giving to my genius complex. You know, he was always praising me for all my works, and he was so kind of invested in all the works that I was doing, whether it was music or artwork or writing or whatever. He so wanted me to be this genius person. He so believed in me that I was this genius type of person that it really just inflated my ego massively. Yeah, and it didn't help that also throughout my whole life, early life, like in childhood to teenage life, I had had the messaging from my parents, mainly my dad. I don't really know what my messaging from my mum was. I feel like my mum was kind of absent emotionally. She helped with all the physical tasks, but she didn't really do the kind of... I didn't really feel like she was delivering any kind of parenting, actually. Any input. She wasn't really actively trying to parent, if that makes any sense. Parenting. So like a contrast with my dad, where my dad would actively spend time with me and actively play games with me, that I remember playing games with my dad. I don't remember, like, there are some videos of my mum spending time with us in the garden and doing things, but it's weird how I don't remember my mum existing in my childhood. Like I don't really remember that she was there. I feel like she was always elsewhere, and I feel like also she was behind the camera rather than being in the shot as well. So there's a lot of photos where she's not really present. I just feel like she was always elsewhere. But then things would get done. So, you know, we'd get food and clothes. And I remember like going shopping with my mum to get clothes. That's about it. And like she took us to the skate park, for example. But I remember her as like kind of being away somewhere over there. She was never really kind of involved. She was always like over there, away, or elsewhere, or in the car or something, like not really present, not wanting to be there. But my dad, parenting wise, I feel like I remember having loads of conversations with my dad when I was growing up. I would ask him loads of questions. It was mainly kind of science stuff about like, how does this work? Um, why does this work this way? And I was really into science when I was growing up. So chemistry as well. So I had chemistry sets, and I read books about. I had this book of it's like encyclopedia of science thing, and I would read through that and stuff. And I was interested in technology a lot as well, how technology worked. Yeah, and my dad encouraged that because my dad was an engineer, and he's big on his science. He loves physics and science and stuff in general. And most recently, he's turned to sort of psychological science. Yeah, kind of. So he's like interested in self-help, but he always looks at self-help through popular science, psychology way of doing things, rather than I don't know, something from a more feeling based. He looks at things from a cognitive mind, rational, logical science. As long as there's evidence and there's been studies to prove it, and there's big rational arguments to back it up, then he'll be okay with reading something about it. But it's almost like there's a void in his brain between poetry and music and art, which is very, very feeling based, and then psychology and self-help, which is all very, very science based. So he hasn't kind of really blended the two and been able to go, okay, you don't need science to have feelings or something like that. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, but so in my childhood, I mean, I remember having loads of conversations with my dad. And I remember my dad making jokes about stuff. Some of those that I still remember today. For example, he used to say that the reason that that there is wind is because the trees rustle their leaves, and so the rustling of the leaves is what's creating the wind, which was a nice little kind of science joke type of thing to get us to think about how things work and to sort of test things for ourselves. And I mean, I remember my dad. I mean, he's still alive. I'm talking like he's dead, but I remember. I just have so many more memories with my dad. Not all of them are good. I mean, he was a bit of a terrorist in some ways. Actually, he used to hide in my room every night as a kind of ongoing joke, and he would hide in different places. Like, so he'd usually be hiding behind the door, and then he'd scare me, and then or he'd hide behind the curtains, then he'd scare me. There was this running joke of like hiding there's a teddy bear or something, or a giant rabbit, I think, like a giant teddy bear rabbit type of thing that I used to have, and he used to sort of hide that in different places, and that was a little ongoing joke sort of thing that he did throughout my later childhood. So before I started to be a teenager, so you get mum and dad tucking you into bed kind of thing. I mean, I kind of remember my mum reading with me, kind of. I remember she read me The Hobbit, a picture book version of it. But I get the feeling that my mum just can't be asked. So in my memories, she's reading with me, but she'd rather be elsewhere. Like, that's the feeling I get from that. It's like she did it for a bit, maybe she didn't even finish it, and she would rather have not have been doing it anyway. She would have rather been elsewhere. My memories of my mum are like she's at the allotment, she's at the gym, she's somewhere else, she's at work, she's in the garden, she's having a cup of tea, she's in the kitchen doing cooking. She's just everywhere that I'm not, if that makes sense. So she's around, she's about, but I just see her as almost invisible. So I mean, like, she's there, don't get me wrong, she was obviously present in my childhood, but I just have no sense of her, if that makes sense. I just have no kind of tangible feeling to say this is what mum is about, or I remember this specific thing with mum. Whereas with my dad, it's like I remember all kinds of things with my dad. I I mean, I've seen pictures of me being on top of his shoulders as he's like carrying me around, but I actually remember that as well. I feel like I remember being on top of his shoulders as we were walking around in forests and stuff. I remember asking to get on his shoulders, and I remember being on top of his shoulders and stuff like that. And I don't know where my mum is in that. I don't know where my mum there? Is she at home? Where is she gone? You know, is she in the forest there and she's just quiet? What is she the one taking the pictures but she doesn't say anything? I mean, where the hell is my mum? Yeah. That's weird. What this is supposed to be about Mr.B. I don't know. Well, that's my dad. Bits about my dad anyway. It's weird how I don't remember my mum in my childhood. I remember some things about my mum, that she would be making sure that I packed my bag for school. I remember that. That really sucks, doesn't it? It's like this hole in my childhood where my mum is not. I mean, like, it's weird because now I live with my mum. So part of me wondered a while ago, oh, well, maybe it's like she's trying to make up for the childhood, or I'm trying to make up for not having had my mum in my childhood. Like somehow she was not present, she was not there during my childhood, and now she is there and I can't get away from the fucking bitch. Oh yeah, but weird. Okay, let's go back to Mr.B and see how this ties in. So Mr.B and I were close and enmeshed as well, but I do feel like there was some sense of us being on the same page occasionally. I think. I think the only thing that we were on the same page about was that I was a genius. That's what he was saying, and that's what I thought of myself, and it kind of just went along that line, which is kind of sick when you think about it. I feel like he was very devoted to me. He was very devoted. And I didn't like that actually after a while because it felt sick. Sick. Because there was a devotional aspect of it. But what you don't... Okay, right. Here's something about relationships that I've learned. Okay, so relationships, in the beginning phase, you tend to kind of... You over emphasize the other person in your life. So everything's about them. You know, you meet them, you fall in love, and your whole attention is turned towards them for a period of time. And everything's great because this new person, you're coming to new levels of understanding of each other, and you know, you're finding connections and you're finding wavelengths. And you're like, yeah, this is amazing, and you're having sex and stuff, right? And your whole focus is based on that person and the relationship and finding, exploring that new person. And then what happens after a while is your actual self starts to make itself known again. So while all your attention had been focused on that other person as being this great, amazing new person that you've met and you click and you know, you're having fun and you're in love and everything. And then what happens is you can't sustain that forever because it's like too energy intensive, and it starts to kind of reverse on you in a way. So all that pleasure and excitement and love and fantasy and infatuation and a sense of obsession and a sense of connection All of that, that's the honeymoon period, right? And that has a time that it kind of can't continue past. And what happens then is you start to realize that you have needs yourself and you want to be independent yourself, and you realize that while you've been so caught up in the other person and the newness of the whole thing and the excitement of it and the rush of it and the love and the sex and the dating and the going out to new places and building a life or whatever, there comes a point when you go like, well, now that that phase is gone, I realize that, well, I've been kind of putting everything into this other person and I've forgotten about me in a way. And although the other person has been putting their attention into me, there's a sense that you need to have a kind of breaking of that romantic period. I know that sounds weird, but for me anyway, personally, it's like you get all kind of uppity about the person, and then you realize that you need you for you. You need you for you. Like, I need me for me as well as being with you. So it's bizarre. And that's what was going on with Mr.B. Like, we went very much into each other. Him certainly into me. And actually, I was mainly doing a pull away. My main movement was away, and his main movement was to try and drag me towards him. So yeah, this is good. So he was a kind of chasing and grabbing type of person, and I was a pulling away type of person. So the more he tried to grab, the more I'd pull away, which made him want to grab even more. So he would grab harder, and then I would be pulling away stronger. And eventually, that dynamic was what fucked it, I suppose. Even though I've said like I didn't really want to be with him to begin with, like I didn't ever pull away hard enough to snap the thing. I was always going on about, oh, I think you're too attached to me. I think you're over emphasizing me or something, like you're putting too much into me, and I feel like you're a bit kind of blind. You know, you've gone a bit love blind and you're a bit too into me, and I don't feel that same way about you. And he was always like, oh, you're my love of my life, you're my world, you're my universe. And by that point, I was like thinking, this is utter teenage nonsense, because like I just don't believe in that. And maybe that's cynical, but I just think it's unrealistic to say such strong things about a person after only being with them like for a few months. I think it's ridiculous to make such wild claims about a person, that they're your world and your love of your life, or your that you mean everything to me. And I'm like, I don't want to mean everything to you. Like, why do I mean everything to you? Don't you have a life? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why do I mean everything to you? Like, don't you mean anything to you? Don't your family mean anything to you? How can I be in place of everything for you? Like, I cannot be everything for you. And in fact, I wrote a song towards the end of the relationship, which started out one way, and then once I'd broken up with him, I rewrote it. So I wrote a song which was saying that I will be anything that he needs. And it was like, for you, I will be everything you need. And it was like, before that chorus, the verse was stuff like, for you, I will stop the lies. Ooh, yeah. For you, I will be faithful. It was kind of like making these promises and vows, which I then ended up breaking. Oh dear. Which is why I also find that like love songs or romance songs overall tend to be a little overstated. Just saying, okay. There are some love songs and romance songs that don't do that. But what a lot of love songs tend to do, in my opinion, is they tend to kind of put load of value on the other person, so much value and so much meaning on the other person's role in your life. Like, so Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud. I'm going to ruin that song for you now if you like that song. Ed Sheeran's song Thinking Out Loud. So what do the words say? Oh, I'll still be loving you when we're 70. Okay. Are you still with that girl that you wrote that song about, Ed? Did you even write that song, for one thing? Sometimes it does happen that a love can last a lifetime, but most of the time, and sometimes, in fact, because of overstating the love so drastically like that, it ruins it. Like, when you start overblowing your love statements and getting so wrapped up in the other person and how much they mean to you, and how, and like kind of pinning all your hopes and pinning all your feelings and pinning all your dreams and pinning all your plans and pinning all your sense of self and your sense of worth and your sense of meaning in life and your sense of goodness in life. If you base all of your happiness and value and love and excitement on another person, and you rely on the other person to give you your good feelings, like pretty much all of your good feelings in life, it's like you fucked it right there. You fucked it. You fucked the relationship just by relying so heavily on another person, because this other person in a relationship is a human being, therefore has faults, has issues, has a history, has problems, has inconsistent emotions, has a difficult experience, suffers themselves, goes through hard times, is an ongoing work in progress of a human being that does not have the ability, crucially, does not have the ability to make you happy consistently for the rest of your life. So whenever you put that, lay that value in someone else to bring you that happiness and a sense of safety or consistency of support or love or attention or whatever, if you put that in someone else, you fucked it. Like, what else can I say? You've ruined that relationship almost immediately by doing that very thing, by overvaluing another person in your life. But I mean, it's more like you outsource your sense of happiness or your sense of self to someone else and say, provide me with happiness, provide me with love, because I don't love myself enough and I'm not happy enough by myself. I need you to give me the happiness. And when you do that, you fucked it, because another person, like, imagine if you're on the receiving end of you. Like, imagine if you're on the receiving end of someone else who needs you to be happy. And you're like, well, yeah, I can do that to a certain extent, but I have my own life. I have my own feelings. I have my own happiness. I'm a limited being. I'm a human being. I am not like the all lovingness of God, Okay, I try, but I cannot solve all of your problems for you. I cannot make you happy eternally. I cannot save you from every negative experience. I cannot create a permanent state of joy and pleasure in you, So when you're asking that of someone, and you may not be asking it consciously of them, but when you're asking it of them emotionally, and you are behaving in that way as though the other person is supposed to make you happy, the other person is supposed to bring all the goodness. And when they suddenly stop bringing the goodness because they're human and they've got their own fucking deals to be going through, their own trials and tribulations and needs and wants and paths and journeys and goals, whatever, and feelings about you that may be different from how you want them to feel about you. You know, when you've put all that store in someone else and they cannot meet what you expect or what you need from them, then all right. And then the next step on from that is, once you've realized that this is something you do, and you realize that the other person cannot provide for your happiness, that you can only really provide for your happiness, then you reach another level of maturity, and you stop asking relationships to make you happy, and you stop asking other people to make you happy on an emotional level and on a psychological level even. So you're not even thinking about getting a relationship to make you happy anymore. You kind of have a relationship because you enjoy being with other people, you enjoy being with a certain special someone, but you no longer ask for that person to create the happiness for you. You're already happy in yourself. That's a different level of maturity, I think. And those relationships, I think personally, are better, where two people who are grounded in themselves, who don't need another person, but who want another person, and who enjoy being with another person, who want intimacy, who don't kind of need it. Like, they're not going to die inside if they don't have it. That's what I mean. But they still yearn for it or crave for it or need it, but at a lesser level of intensity, such that it's not demanding on the other person. It's more like, yeah, I would like it. Yes, I do want intimacy. I do want love from another person too. I think that this is just my personal view, personal opinion. I think that those kind of relationships, once you kind of got yourself figured out, then you're ready to be in a mature relationship with another human being where you can care about them because you care about yourself, because you know how to care for yourself. So you don't expect other people to care about you because you know that you've got you figured. It's amazing when other people care about you as well. It's like even better. It's like even better. But you're already at a level of kind of, I'm pretty self-established, I'm pretty self-sustaining emotionally. I feel good in myself generally anyway. I feel full in myself. I don't need to kind of steal energy from other people. I don't need to, like, you come here, I need you. It's like, I'm okay. Please come and let's have a good time together. It sounds so cheesy, but that's how I feel anyway. I think that that kind of relationship works better. Not that I have any of those relationships in my life at the moment, but I think it will work better. Yeah, so me and Mr.B were really not in that state at all. I was using him to fulfill my grandiosity. He was using me as a fixation point for his neediness, I guess. He was using me to try and give him a sense of safety and stability, and I was using him to feed my grandiosity, basically. My attention-seeking need for praise and admiration. Yeah, very narcissistic from my point. And from his point, he was like I guess the codependent, you could say. So if I was the narcissist, he was the codependent. So he was the one who wanted to, like, escape himself into someone else. That's how I tend to see codependency. Like, it's the real need to run away from yourself and to live in someone else, to completely divest yourself of all need and self-emotion, and to fixate yourself and to enmesh yourself, to embroil yourself in someone else. To just, I want to abandon myself, basically, is what the codependent's saying. I don't want to be inside myself. I don't want to be in my body. I want to be in someone else. I want to, like, throw myself into a relationship. I want to throw myself into sex. I need to escape the pain of being in myself. I need to escape the pain of being myself. I need to escape the pain of being in my body. And I need to leave that, and I need to find myself in someone else instead. I want to abandon myself into someone else and have them as being my full fixation, because when I'm my full fixation, or if I'm any of my own fixation, it feels painful. So I need to escape that pain, jump into someone else. The problem with that is, of course, with the codependent, is that when you escape into someone else, that other person is dramatically unstable. You cannot find yourself in another person, because they're always changing and they've got their own things going on, their own feelings, whatever. So whenever you try to enmesh with someone else, you will find it a deeply painful experience. Anyway, you're trying to escape your own pain by jumping into someone else and by fully fixating your attention and your emotions and your lifestyle around someone else. And then you find that they can't provide that sense of stability of self that you thought you would get by fixating on another person. So you're like, oh, I still can't find myself. I still can't find my own love. I still can't find my feeling of fullness. What's that thing where it's like you try and escape your own brokenness by fixating on another person, and what do you find? They're broken too. So, oh dear. Yeah, so he was the codependent and I was the narcissist. And you could say that's why it was thwarted, why he was thwarted. So his desires were thwarted constantly by me, because he wants me to be the, I don't know what he wants me to be. He wants me to be the perfect person. So he plays me up as though I'm the perfect person. He wants it to be the perfect relationship. So he creates this idea in his head and these like pictures and kind of the way he speaks about the relationship to other people of us being a perfect couple, perfect relationship. I'm the perfect person for him. And very little attention is given to his own self in that situation as well. Like, he doesn't focus on how he's behaving. So it's a perfect way to escape difficult feelings, difficult behaviors, because you just focus your whole mind and body and emotion on someone else and just getting trapped in their narcissism. So I was a narcissist. Like, I thought I was great. All my dramas were all stupid dramas. I was concerned about my sexuality. I was concerned about my life path, my career. I thought I was a genius, but I didn't know whether I was going to put my genius into art or into environmentalism or into politics. So that's major narcissistic egomaniac type of thing that I was going through. And he's there going, yeah, I want to tell you how much you're a genius, and I want to feed into that because I don't have to deal with myself. If I can get involved in you and promote you and think that your music's going to be amazing and successful, and encourage your artwork, and you're going to be this genius artist, and what else? And I wanna be the one to have my name on all your CD linings, and I want to help you with everything. I want to be involved in everything. I want to set your business up for you. What else? I want to provide a house for you, whatever. I can be the provider for you. So he's kind of like, he's creating meaning for his life by me being the meaning, but it's my narcissism that was being his meaning. So my inflation of self gave him some kind of feeling of self. That makes sense. So my grandiosity, narcissistic grandiosity, like the narcissistic meaning, like it is like this kind of craving to be a somebody, craving to be recognized, craving to be big, but feeling constantly small. And the reason I need to be big is because I feel small, or I feel like I'm nothing without being big. So the grandiosity that I had was just this inflation of self, this projection of being it's like a projection that I was going to be this big person, or I already was this big person. But that was only like it's only a mental understanding. It's all thought based, and it's very much future based as well. So it's like, it will be in the future that I will be famous, I will be successful, I will be remembered as a genius artist or as a genius musician. I will achieve fame, I will achieve recognition, I will achieve impact in the world, la la la. And the reality of it was more like, I'm just an everyday guy. And so there's this conflicting contrast between the truth of who I was and what I thought I would be and thought I was. Yeah, it's all very interesting when you put it like that, isn't it? Yeah, and then, okay, so there's another thing coming to me about this narcissism, grandiosity thing, which is, so there's part of me that loved the attention that he would give me. So he gave me loads and loads of attention. Like, he would listen to me, but he would be kind of frustrated at listening to me, because I would just go on and on and on about just the thoughts in my head that I thought were incredibly worthy and important and insightful. Not even insightful, no, that's too far. Well, maybe insightful. I thought that because I was so creative, right, and I had such genius thoughts and insights into people and the world and what needs to be done and capitalism. Okay, perfect example. I remember doing some work in this house, painting my parents' bedroom for my dad, like, as in to be paid by my dad to do that, and going home to where I was living with Mr.B, right, and telling him, well, what do you think? What do you think about in the daytime? What do you think about? What do you think about? What do you tend to think about in the daytime? And he goes, well, I tend to think about you and work and, like, what we're going to cook for dinner and stuff. And I go, oh yeah, really? Well, I think about capitalism. You should be thinking about capitalism too. I think about capitalism and the global economy because I have genius thoughts and I am important and my thoughts are important. Why don't you think about capitalism? I've been thinking about capitalism all afternoon. So yeah, that's what I was like. Oh my god. Oh, like, really overinflation of my own mind. I really thought my mind was so incredibly important to other people, and I thought that myself was so incredibly important to other people as well, I suppose. Yeah. And my work and my abilities, I just had this, like, ridiculously overblown understanding of myself. I remember now why I was talking about my dad, because when I was growing up, my dad would feed me the belief that I was something special and that I was going to do some great thing for the world, that I was going to change the world. I don't know when that started coming along. I think it started coming along when I was a teenager and I first got into a band. My dad started saying how great we were and how talented we were and how we were going to be. It was like virtually certain that we were going to be successful, right? So I had all this praise from my dad and recognition, encouragement, and sort of this belief was instilled into me that I was this special person who was going to, like, change the world and who was going to be mega famous and going to be a superstar and be big, be successful in music because I was so talented and I was so young and talented, and because I was talented so young, it meant that I was going to be really, like, really, really big and really, really good because we were in a band and we were doing well, and because we were young and talented, it was like it was a novel thing that we were so young and talented at the same time. So it was like a big buzz around it, right? And also even before that, like way before that. So my dad had constantly been feeding me these positive affirmations, if you like, of myself as being an intelligent person. So intelligence, cleverness was always things, brilliant or bright pupil, you know, really intelligent or like really, really clever. So my praise would be like that I'm really, really clever or intelligent, I think was the main thing that I would get from my dad, is about being intelligent. So, but there's this kind of praise affirmation. So always being praised for doing well at school. So academically at school, I'd always been like top of my class. I was always top of my class. Certainly top boy anyway, in my class. There was like there was one other girl who rivaled me in terms of getting top marks and things. And then that continued. Yeah, that continued throughout secondary school as well. I was pretty much top in everything. I didn't get quite top in absolutely everything, but I got an award at GCSE for getting the highest set of grades in GCSE of that year group for the boys. Like I was the highest scoring GCSE boy person, right? Whatever. So I was the brightest kid in my year group in terms of academic, studying and academic intelligence anyway. Remembering things, writing essays, stuff like that. Yeah. So I got the highest marks. So I'd had all this kind of praise. I was like a really high achieving academic school. I did great at school in the subject of school. I was okay at sport. No, even before that, like when I was younger, in primary school and the beginning of secondary school, it was like sport. So the thing from my dad was then a praise thing of, you're really, really sporty, you're going to be a great athlete or something. Yeah. And my grandfather was an athlete, and my great grandfather was an athlete or something like that. So there's always this kind of like, you are the best, or you're going to be the best, or you are something special to the world. You are going to be this giant, big, amazing thing. So that's where the kind of grandiosity came from, which was the praise from my dad. And my school career fostered that as well. So as I did well at school, the feedback I get from other people is from teachers and stuff as well, as amazing, brilliant, fantastic, oh, you're so bright, or oh, you're so intelligent, or you're going to go far, brightest pupil type of thing. So I had all this massive fucking ego about how amazing I was. And then again, like the thing with that ego is it's fragile. It cannot be maintained. So a high achiever with grandiosity and large ego about their achievements, when they meet with failure, when they meet with their sudden limitation in a certain area, right, then they're like, oh, my ego is majorly being undermined here. Like, I know myself as the best. I am the best, and I am clearly not the best in this. Like, this is a false belief in this scenario. This is incorrect. And I've got a major investment in the fact that I know myself to be the best, and I know myself to be special. I know myself to be bright. I know myself to be intelligent. I know myself to be clever. Or even if it was to someone who was not me, for example, who had taken the sports one and gone further with that, and to be the best in a certain sports arena and have a massive ego about how great they are in sports because they're a winner and they've won X amount of things, right? And then they suddenly start a losing streak. That's a major ego underminement. That's majorly undermining your sense of self. If your sense of self is stored up in how, like, in being this amazing, intelligent, brilliant, fast runner or whatever it is, you know, and then all of a sudden you come across the reality of life as being unstable and changeable and not fixed. So that feeling of there's a fixedness to my brilliance, there's a staticness to my brilliance, that it's going to be enduring over time. And then you come across a scenario that proves that it's not fixed and it's not static and it's not enduring over time. It's an impermanent fluxing movement of your life to be intelligent or wise even, or strong, and then you suddenly come to this period where it's like, oh, it's not the case. Then you get the suffering from that. You get the realization that, oh my God, my whole life has been structured around this particular belief system about myself. I thought I was clever. And I think that kind of started for me personally at A level. So up until A level, like up until GCSE, sorry, and I finished my GCSEs, throughout that whole time, from pretty much from primary school to the end of my GCSEs, my highest grades ever in the whole world, right? When I got past that GCSE point and I went into a job, right? And I think one of the first things where I realized that maybe I wasn't as amazing and brilliant and special as I thought I was in this job. This first job that I had was in a shoe shop, and there was another girl who worked there. Another girl? I'm the first girl. There was a girl who worked there, and she was actually the reason why I wanted the job, because she was pretty and I wanted to go out with her. And that's why I asked for the job in the first place, because she was hot. Bad idea. Don't do that ever again. Yeah. So anyway, so I went there and went to the job and got talking with this girl who had attracted me by her blonde hair and cute physique and nice boobies. I got to talk to her at length, and I realised she'd got better marks than me at GCSE. She had more better grades than me, and I was the highest ranking boy, and I was so fucking arrogant about it as well. I was like, you know, it was my biggest point of pride at that point. And there was this girl who'd got, not only had she got higher grades than me, she got even more GCSEs than me total. Like, I think I had 10 or 11. I think I had 10. I can't remember. 10. Let's say 10. Yeah. I can't remember. I think I'm not going to say what I had, because that will just feed my ego. I had the highest thing of the boys in the year, okay? And she had more grades. Like, she had more GCSEs finished, as in complete, whatever. You know, you can kind of do between, I think, I don't know what it was at the time, but between sort of 8 and 12 or something. So I think I had 10 or 11, and she had more. She had like 12 or 13 or something. And of a higher grade overall as well. I was like, what the fuck? And she was just like, yeah. She was just so blasé about it. Like, yeah, well, I got 10. And I don't even know if it was true, to be fair. But the fact that she was kind of like, yeah, whatever, like loads of people get that. I was like, shit. So that was the first feeling that, okay, bugger. Maybe this doesn't give me that same sense of perfection or uniqueness or individuality or self-worth, because it's comparative as well. So that's what you got to remember about these comparative judgments, is if you think you're the best at something, there is someone who's better than you, or you can't be the best forever, or in some scenario being the best at that particular thing is absolutely irrelevant and meaningless, and in fact could go against you. So yeah. How long is this video? An hour. Yeah, okay. But then when I was with Mr.B, you see, he fed back into that amazing, brilliant, narcissistic, grandiose identity that I had for myself. But this time it was a more of an artistic type of one, rather than an academic type of one. Yeah. Oh yeah, so sorry, I was saying about in A level, like when I got to A level as well, my grades were not AAA, which is what I expected them to be, because coming from the GCSE background and being like, yeah, I'm amazing. I'm not sure exactly what happened in A level, apart from the fact that I found Mrs. A, and therefore most of my brain and emotion power was going into her and my penis power. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a distraction from work, schoolwork. So I think that's pretty much why my A level, suffered. But I still had this arrogant understanding of myself that I was this amazing person, genius, brilliant, academic achiever type of person. And I got my first round of results from A level, and they weren't good. They were like D's and stuff, or like C's, B's, C's, and D's, I think. And that was stuff that I had not. I was like an A star type of person. These are the high grades, and I was like, these are middle to bad grades. This is bad. This is bad. This is not right. This is not me. And I did pull my finger out a little bit in order to improve my grades. But I'd also chosen a new subject, which was drama, which I'd never done in a formal way before. I'd been in plays and stuff throughout the whole of my school career. The school play thing, I was always in that. I made sure of it. It was like a thing of mine. Like I go in the school plays. I do the school plays. I'm always in the school plays. And then I got to A level and I chose drama as a subject. They wouldn't let me do music as well, I think. Or maybe I didn't want to do music. I'm not sure. But I did art, English, and drama at A level. And I did physics as a AS level, which I dropped in the second year because I was like, I don't want to do another however many hours of this a week. Even though I'd quite enjoy doing that now. Anyway, no. So I did drama, and I'd never studied it before. It was usually required that you should do GCSE drama before you do A level. A level. But I hadn't done that because I wasn't allowed to do drama and all the creative subjects that I wanted to do in GCSE because blah blah blah, some reason. Anyway, so I did this at A level, and it was a completely foreign subject to me. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I could do the acting part of it, and I could do the creative part of it, like all the sort of script writing and the devising and acting part, the stuff to do with the doing of it, but then the thinking about it and the analysing of it and the essay writing about it and the study of other plays. What the fuck was this? I could do English essays. I'd never written a drama essay. I just did not understand the viewpoint or the mentality of how to do a drama essay, theatre studies essay. I'm like, I am doing badly at this. I don't know how to write these essays. I cannot seem to do the right thing. Like I can't seem to notice the things you're supposed to notice and sort of apply the things you're supposed to apply. I'm like going, I don't understand this at all. I just don't understand it. And yeah, on the flip side of it, I was doing great in the acting and devising and creative script writing. I edited the script for the first thing I did and created the whole concept around what we were going to do, in fact. Yeah. And pretty much directed it, to be fair, actually, now I think of it. And then I chose the music for it and the lighting. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then the second thing we did, I wrote the entire script. Like we kind of fannied about with an idea for what we were going to do for this piece of theatre. And it was like, who's going to actually do anything? Like we weren't coming to any conclusions about what the structure was actually going to be. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to write it because I know I can write. Like I know I can write stuff. I've been writing shit for ages. So I'm just going to fucking write a script. And I just wrote a script and we just did what I came up with basically. And it was kind of relevant to what the ideas were in the group beforehand, but with a healthy dose of what I wanted to do. Yeah, so I wrote the script for that and kind of directed it ish, I guess, but it was more of a group direction effort. But I just wrote the whole script for that. And then yeah, so I did well in that aspect, and I did well in the acting part for the part where we had to do a play that was just given to us to do. Yeah, so I was great at that. And then the part where I had to write about that shit and write about the plays we'd been to see and like how certain things were being conveyed through the use of theatre, I was like, I don't know what to write and how to write it and how to structure my points. And I also, part of me was going, I don't even understand why we have to do this. Like, what is this? What purpose does this serve? I feel like in English essays, I sort of intuitively knew why I was doing the English essay. Like, yeah, it was to impress my teacher mainly was the thing, and I just don't feel like I just couldn't get drama essays at all. Plus, I fumbled one major thing, one major performance moment in my assessment, which was a soliloquy monologue type of thing that I'd written myself for my script. I fucked it up. I just went blank. I completely forgot what I'd written for myself to say, and I'd forgotten what I'd rehearsed to say. And so I just stood there and blanked, and I think I even muttered under my breath, "Oh shit!" And I looked at the door. I was like, "Oh man, I really." My thoughts were, I could just run out. I could just run away. I could just run out of the door and just forget it ever happened and just leave, and it would just all end. But instead, I just kind of stood there, going, as I was about to turd out my entire life of emotion. That's an exaggeration, but I stood there. I was in this particular pose, which was a door pose. I was posing as a door, like my character was a door, and this was my front handle and my back handle out there. So I was standing there as a door, and I was supposed to say this like whole big important soliloquy type of thing about how the door sees everyone and sees everything and has to bear through all of humanity just being there in the background, something like that, right? And I just froze, and I just went, looked over to the door. on reflection, it doesn't seem that bad, but at the time it was like, oh my god, the worst feeling. And that played into, I don't know, it just played into some fears and insecurities about performing, I suppose. But also, I'm pretty sure that had an impact on my grade as well. I know that I fucked that. And so I got a B. Now, like, some people were like, okay, B, that's great. But for me, I was expecting and wanted AAA, the AAA. But I didn't get it. And honestly, I felt gutted about that. I felt really gutted about getting a B. It was almost like, how could such a thing happen to me? The world is over. I'm not the brilliant human being I thought I was. I'm not the perfect person anymore. Life has beaten me. So my sense of grandiosity was hit by that. God damn. Grandiosity. Alright, well, this video is way long anyway, so let's just cut it off here. Thanks for watching and for listening to me talking about the various ways that a person can experience an inflated sense of self, an inflated ego, and a sense of grandiosity, thinking that you are more than what you are. Oh, damn. Okay. I'm gonna have a drink. That's alright, there's that background, isn't it?